Stack them.
We're good? Okay. So Dan comes back.
Of course.
We're almost ready.
Oh, yeah. It's totally done.
Ready? You know, if you put comments here, it's a completely different point.
Well, I didn't do that. We'll call the meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. Any changes or additions, deletions to the agenda? So we'll begin with our meeting minutes from August 19th of 24.
Did you bring an amendment to the additions to this agenda? I mean, at the agenda, to the minutes rather?
I have no amendment. I have no comments.
Comments, okay.
I'm full of it.
I thought I might have seen one, that's why.
Okay.
Okay.
I didn't receive any. How are you?
Okay. I move that we approve the minutes.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Our abstract number 5 dated today in the amount of $210,345.09.
I move to accept and pay for this.
Moved by
Second.
second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Our departments, we'll start with the DPW.
DPW is still looking to hire for a maintenance worker and mechanic. And they've been very active in completing many projects, including their parking lot has been milled. And paving will begin next week with the town of Manlius Highway Department. Crosswalks around the village have been completed, which I'm assuming needs to been striped in time for school.
Yep.
201 Hubbard Street sidewalk repair has been completed. And they're beginning to do some spot asphalt patching around the village as needed. So.
Anything else, Bobby?
No, I mean, we have a few interviews coming up, so probably the next meeting we'll have, knock on wood, hopefully a few new hires, so.
Very good. Anybody have questions for him? Okay, fire department?
I'm also going to see me and I'll go hybrid again.
Okay.
All right. That file stuff. So first, we want to hire the provisional or temporary employee we did for the MSI, Will Sharkey. It's his rate will be $20.60 an hour, and everything else will be the contract. A 52-week probationary period starting September 4th. So we're a little late.
It's gonna be
full-time, right? Full-time, yep.
Okay, so we hired him as a part-time person. Now we're just bumping him to a.
We hired him as a provisional
Provisional.
person, and we decided that it's working, so we'll
You moved
Keep-
it to a full-time ladder.
Yeah.
Full-time EMT.
full-time EMT.
Second.
Moved by Dan, seconded by Dan. Contract rate.
It's $20.60 an hour is the contract rate.
Starting September 4th, right?
Yes.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
At the last meeting, Lori got approval to canvass the list to hire a firefighter or paramedic. We got 3 letters back. We'd like to offer the job to Ian Spira, who's on the EMS side of the house, who qualifies for the position. To start in October, I haven't got the date firmed yet, but in October. At a rate of $57,598. With a 52-week probationary period. That's salary. Salary. He's salary. He's on, that's the contract probationary rate to start.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Next is part-time paramedic. Who's also works for the county emergency medical services. He's a county card 2. Jeff Van Beveren. We'd like to hire him as a paramedic. For the rate of $23 an hour.
So.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor? All right.
So he needs to get his EMS skills. He wants to keep his EMS skills up since he's in the emergency management now. He came to us and wants some part-time work, so we've got it.
Again, Jeff.
Here you go. I can tell you if you're gonna want to spell. All right. So I had a conversation briefly with Mike earlier last week about us potentially doing the safety inspections for the town of Manlius in our district only, not in Manoa or not in Manlius, just in our district. It sounds like that's going to continue in conversations with the town as they meet. We did talk about a number. They seem to be on board with that number. I'm just going to give you the kind of the workload so you understand. It's 127 inspections. It'll be for 25, it starts. Those are all annual for that year, and then the following year, it'll average about 127 a year, plus our 50 that we have. So the selling point for the fire department is to get in the buildings, see the buildings, know the people. That's just such a big value for us. We like doing it in Fayetteville. It'll be the same setup. We'll use their IPS system. They're going to give us all the hardware. We'll do the inspection. We'll do the follow-up. If it gets past the follow-up, just like now, we give it to the code's office. Just like we can give them to Mike here, we'll give them to Tom down there. And then we're done. So we don't get into court and litigation and all that. It goes right back to them, just like it would any.
And they may get into court and litigate. That's up to them.
On them. Yep. So they're getting ready to face some retirement, another retirement down there. Tom's been after us for years to talk about this. Finally, the right time. We've got some of the right people here to do it. So I'd like to be able to continue these conversations. I think it's good for all of us, and they will compensate us, and I think it's a fair rate. So.
And you have enough person power.
Yeah, we're actually going to get 2 more of our new people. Ian's going to be one of them. And then the last one that we hired, Lincoln, is going to be the other one. So these 2 people will be trained. Lincoln's trained. We got to get him some refreshing classes. Ian's got to get trained. So it'll be perfect. We'll have some young blood that will embrace it.
Are those inspections spread out throughout the year rather than heavy periods, if you understand what I'm saying?
We can schedule them.
You can.
It's at our schedule.
At your rate, okay.
Yeah,
I
so
want to
like,
make sure about that.
so like the big lift would be Wildwood Ridge and Crystal Tree. You're talking like 80. So that's the big lift for that year or next year. So, we put 2 guys on it. We can easily knock it out. I could send the whole crew down there and they can do pre-plans while the other ones are doing inspections. It could be a productive time. So it seems like it could work. And it's it'd be a 1-year agreement. So at the end of it, if they're not working for us or not working for them, we
Yeah,
can,
yeah, that's good.
Okay.
we can just part ways. So,
Excuse me, can you just tell me what the safety inspections are of?
so it's all your exit lights, fire extinguishers, extension cords, sprinkler system inspections, elevator inspections. It's pretty much a lot of it. Door entrances and things like that.
Oh, these are apartment buildings?
Businesses, apartments, common areas in apartments, businesses, assemblies, schools.
Building safety.
Yep.
It does not include private residential.
Nope, nothing.
Right.
Now, just total transparency, we do those. They're called home safety inspections, but it's on the resident to request it.
Oh.
So we have on one of our apps, I'm responding, they do can't remember the actual name of it, but you can click on it, send us a link. You can upload where your kids are, where your utilities are, all that stuff onto the app. So if we ever get a call, it pops up and we have all the information, contact, key holder, all that stuff.
Wow.
So there is a mechanism there for it. It's just not widely used.
Sure,
So
very good.
Does the town fire inspections are same as
how we have it structured,
Yep.
1 year and 3 year.
Yep. And it's the same software program, so there's no learning curve for the ones we currently use to do it, but the new ones will obviously have to get trained on it, so
That's great.
should be good. Okay,
No, that's still in the works. So
Yeah.
we're not ready to
Oh.
enter into the agreement just yet. but
Nope.
you
I just
pretty much
wanna make
give you
sure
an
that-
update as to
yeah, I just wanna
where
make sure
we're
we're
at.
on the same page.
If you have thoughts or questions, you can talk.
We
to-
know about it. They haven't come back yet. So.
We'll get a draft MOU to review before we enter any agreement, so.
Right.
Second is I'd like to go to the VCOS conference in November in Florida. They go like every 2 or 3 years. It's a volunteer combinations officers symposium in Florida. It's 4 days. It's part of the International Association of Conferences. It's less than $2,500, including everything.
Second,
Moved and seconded. Any other questions?
What's the date on that, Paul?
It's November 11th through the 14th.
I'm not going.
No, I'm asking if anybody else had anything to say, talk about before we
Thought he was
voted.
taking me.
No,
Took Mike 1 year.
He told me he wasn't gonna.
I know. He took Mike 1 year, sure.
I did.
Yeah. Okay, well. It's okay. The only thing I have about all these conferences that people go through. Obviously, it's nice to get a brochure or something of what is taking place and also when you come back with a report.
Okay.
I mean, we did that for many years and all of a sudden, I think it got lost.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Right? Favor?
Nice move.
Okay.
Last thing is I've been working with Spectrum to upgrade our phone system. 14 years, we're losing phone after phone. So they came up with a package for us for 3 years. We upgraded our cable in it and it includes the phone with a piece has a pretty robust WebEx platform for teleconferencing and things like that. The ballpark on it is $722 a month. And we pay $618 a month now. And I say the ballpark is because I have the max phones in here at 18. I'm not 100% sure we're gonna need all 18, so that would be the absolute max. It could come down to less than 700. So I'd like to continue with this. It will not be able to be done until it's 3 months of planning for them to come in and logistically do everything. So I'd like to start that process. So it can be in right after the first of the year. It's a great winter project to get done and out of the way. I'll give Ted, this is just a service order. I'll get Ted whatever I can get him for a contract to review prior to you signing it. If that's okay. But I said, we pay $618, I think now a month. So it'll go up about less than $100 for the all new phones in the whole program. Prior to this, I was working with the Garum Group, which I believe you guys have. And you can keep.
please.
I didn't mesh well. And then the other one we worked with was Verizon. They have this new One Connect. And that would have been a nightmare for us because you're sharing 3 phones share a line. So, which in theory would work, but it's just a huge learning curve when you have 100 people over there not using the phone very often. It's easier to just push hold and call over the phone. So this seems like it's very similar to what we have and it seems cost effective. So I'd like to continue down this road and get the contract executed so he can review it. And I'll probably have it for you for the next meeting that I won't be here for.
So it'd be approximately $100 more.
Yep.
So wait to have that on place and we'll make the motion at the
Yeah,
next meeting.
I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you or email ahead of time so you guys have it, but
Okay.
that way Ted can get the contract done ahead of time. That's everything.
Okay, anything for the chief?
You want me to talk briefly about the staffing stuff that we talked about?
Yeah, just kind of an overview of what we're looking
So
looking at as the future.
as we've been, listen. As we've been continually talking about volunteers and they're the lack of in some cases, our EMS side is really coming to the end as a volunteer agency. We are one of the last volunteer agencies in the county. It's us and Manlius. Every other agency in the county's paid. So we've been doing well to maintain and squeeze every ounce we can out of them. The ones we get in just don't hang. So I don't know if it's getting up in the middle of the night. I don't know what it is, but we're looking at a couple different staffing models. We're gonna try to do something with shifting some staff around, maybe hiring some part-time people so that we don't have any type of full-time employees with benefits and all that to try to keep the costs down. Right now, I don't have a plan. I've got a couple models in my mind, but until putting them on paper and doing that stuff and getting some more part-timers in here just to fill the gaps now. We have about 9 shifts, I think, a week open out of 14. So we're feeling the pinch. And once we pull this plug, once we do this, it'll be the end of the volunteer EMS. So I want to make sure it's the right thing to do before we just do it. We need to cover it, but we also need to make sure we just don't, pull the plug on it 100% and be done with it.
Well, I mean, if you don't do this, it's not your position to understand why the volunteer system has changed over the years. It just has.
Yep.
You have proof in the pudding. It's just changed. And so if you don't do this, is it fair to expect that that change is going to stay as it is or get worse? I mean, what's your alternative if you don't do this?
No, I'm trying to do the right thing. We're maintaining the service. We're there. We're robbing from Peter to pay Paul to get the coverage and put the trucks on the roads. But if it gets much worse, we'll have no choice.
Okay.
Now, I'm trying to put the Band-Aids on it every way I can and keep the costs down so it's not a huge burden. Personnel is a cost. There's no two ways about it.
Absolutely. And you're going to run into, my expectation is maybe initially for volunteers who are not getting paid, they'll be, yeah, sure, I'll take part-time. I get paid.
Yep.
I didn't get paid to do the same thing I'm gonna do tomorrow. I'll get paid. But at some point, that part-time status is gonna get questioned, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Right, so you're, thank you for trying to keep the costs down, to keep that at a manageable level, but I think our community needs to understand how valuable this service is to us.
No, 100%.
And if we no longer want to pay 10 to whatever it is, I'm making up that.
Yep.
Because we don't, then we don't get emergency service, right? I mean,
Yep.
that's the kind of black and white of it.
We're just trying to look at every avenue before we come up with a final plan. That's, just
Sure.
because we could look at doing some mergers with other agencies to make it work too. So there's all kinds of things out there that we want to look at before we just say, yeah, we're going to hire 4 more, or 8 more, whatever the number is
Okay.
to cover what we need to cover.
All right, I understand what you're saying now. So you're gonna do a little bit more of your own
Yeah,
investigation and
Yeah.
research.
but in having this conversation with Mike, I put the sheet out so he saw the schedule. But I really just wanted to do an overview so I didn't blindside anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody understands what's going on.
Yeah.
And whether it's next month or the month after, at least these conversations, you've been aware and you know what's going on.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
if it gets worse, I'll make sure everybody knows. And I've slowed down on the overtime. So we're trying to not spend so much money on overtime to keep that pot full. So that'll be the worst. We'll have the money in the overtime. We'll have to fund it with some operating lines at some point to make it whole. But
Okay.
right now we're still in the black. So
All right.
good.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Yep.
A few meetings ago, we talked about a stop sign request from a resident down in the Fairfield Bishop area. And we were gonna look at that site, so before we make a decision on anything, I want to know if anybody's had a chance to look at it or any opinions. And before we move on it, because we ran into this with one of our previous sign approvals, I had a lot of feedback from people that didn't like our decision when we made it, so I want to make sure that other people in that neighborhood, besides just one, recognize and feel that they need it down there. But I thought I would start with us first, if we've had a chance to look at it, and if not, we can put it to the next meeting. Or at some point between now and the next meeting, get back to me about your thoughts on it. But has anybody looked at it or given any
I agree.
I thought, I know Casey talked to me a long time ago that she did. or whatever.
Actually, I'm familiar with it. The site has sort of been a potential problem for a number of years, I think, because there's visibility issues at that corner.
What issues?
Visibility. And it's hard for,
And
since there's,
Edgemere?
no, we're not talking about Edgemere, we're talking about Fairfield and Bishop.
Fairfield. Well, all three of them, dead ended into, Bishop.
Yeah,
And you think there's a visibility?
yeah, because there's growth of material on the corner that makes it hard, and the house itself is set up with higher things, so even if you don't have a large amount of growth, there does create some visual kinds of issues particularly when you're down on Bishop. It's hard for anybody coming down Fairfield to actually understand if somebody's there or not. And there's no stop sign there currently, and a stop sign might be beneficial to actually stop somebody so that they just don't go rolling right straight through it and into
So you're
somebody.
thinking a stop sign coming down Fairfield.
Yeah. I think that's where it would make the most sense.
So Bishop would be a through street.
Yeah.
And you think that there's a visibility issue?
I know there is by visiting it.
Well, I've been there too.
I know
But
you
they-
have.
But I don't understand. Did they do any investigation, whether there's been accidents or anything like that?
I haven't seen I haven't talked to the police about it or anything of that nature, and I don't think there is a high number of accidents, but I do know it's, you don't necessarily need to have accidents to try to avoid them, because I do think there's a thing where you're trying to control, because you also have no sidewalks in there, so people are being pedestrians on those streets as well. And that's one of the other issues that goes with it, and it would create a better flow, I think, in that particular situation. That's what I'm mostly concerned about. I'm not really concerned about the number of accidents in that case. I'm concerned about trying to maintain the safety in that area. Now, I also am going to say something else. I have not spoken to the residents there about that. I haven't talked to the people on the corner and the rest of the thing. So I think that is a piece that still has to be done.
Yeah, how many residents request this, Mike?
One person approached us, that's why I'm asking.
Are they
Is
at-
she on Edgemere or Bishop?
I don't remember
I keep
from
saying
the
Fairfield.
message that she left, I don't know,
Yeah, I
that
don't think
indicates her
I keep
location,
saying
but she
Edgemere,
was,
sorry.
I think, speaking on behalf of others too. I don't have a petition or a list of names, but it's one residence coming before or requesting of the board.
Right, I
to
want to
consider
get
this.
your opinions first, and then we will go down and investigate a little further. We're not making a decision tonight. But I wanted to hear what anybody
Yeah,
had
I
to
have
say, so that
another
we could
question.
ask the right questions and find out the information.
For the rest of the village, do we know of other intersections like that where one street is teeing into another with no traffic control
The
mechanism?
only other one I was told about last week was at the corner of Warner Road and Kennedy Street,
Yep.
where Warner meets, Kennedy goes in from South Burdick or North Burdick Street, and Warner comes into it, and there is no control there.
And that's
either.
But
because
somebody else also commented that they felt a stop sign.
They
was
felt that
warranted
they
there
wanted
as well.
to stop that there as well.
It's a
Yeah,
similar
yeah.
scenario.
Yeah, all right. And that's why I asked the question. If we think it's warranted, then we need to look at other similar intersections, and I
Well,
don't think,
those are the two that have been brought to me so far.
Okay.
I think most every other street has stop signs on it
So
over the years.
Most of them
there's
do,
a
but
few
Danny's
more.
right. There
There's a
are
few more.
areas in that neighborhood where others do not have a stop sign.
So
Right.
I was
But-
coming down
but-
that street. Into Bishop. I'm gonna live on Bishop, right?
you're doing what on Bishop?
If I'm coming down Fairfield. Down that street, I'm gonna live on Bishop. Why would anybody else go down that street?
Oh, right. Well, that's why I asked the
Well,
question.
that's-
Yeah, it is very,
Trying to put all this together. I mean, I don't, I
You're
sure.
talking about the familiarity of people who are driving it, is that
I-
correct?
and the volume.
Yeah.
And the number.
There aren't large numbers. That's the other part I
Yeah.
know.
The one thing that obviously I would be nervous about not doing it would be with regard to the pedestrians. But it's like Brookside has different things. They want to put this speed limit up, this speed limit up, which is fine. But who are the people in Brookside that are creating the problem? Probably Brookside people, because there aren't people driving through there.
And it's not true. Brookside brings in a lot of people who want to access Green Lake
and
State
stuff.
Park as well as Coulter Park. Would drive through Brookside. Yep. Me being one of them.
Well, I don't,
So it's,
yeah, if somebody's gonna access Colder Park, yeah.
and Green Lakes, you drive to either entrance and park your car.
Oh, let's focus
So
on
that
the corner
example
that
might
we're
not
talking
be-
about.
Yeah,
Let's
So that might
focus,
not be an equal example.
let's focus
That
on the
area.
corner we're talking about. I'm asking for
Oh, I think
opinions
my
on the
example
corner
is
of
great.
Bishop
Because
and,
I think that the
Fairfield.
people, I think the people in Brookside that
okay,
requested
but how
that,
about Bishop and, or Bishop and
Fairfield.
Fairfield? That's what we gotta talk about
Okay.
right now.
all right, we are.
Okay. Casey, you were there.
I wasn't clear on why it was needed. It seems like a very low traffic area. I will look again at what you're talking about visibility. It didn't come out to me. But you know, I'm not opposed to it.
Right.
I'm still getting a handle on when we add stop signs.
I'm mostly
what the
concerned particularly
criteria-
with pedestrians also is the other issue.
And
Because,
you made sense.
you know, that's really
I
sort
know
of,
that-
Pedestrian, it's
No objection.
obviously.
Could also
It
look
is.
at a yield sign instead of a
What?
stop sign.
that's true.
Could put a yield sign instead of a stop sign.
It's just an-
Well, I mean, there's different places. That south side of the village never had stop signs on every corner, and now they do pretty much, or whatever, when I was a kid growing up here, or whatever, when Dan was a kid growing up here. That people would come to an intersection and you didn't just go blowing through intersections because of the fact that there were other cars out there driving and you don't want to get hit. When you come down Fairfield, you're gonna make a left or a right. You're not gonna be going 30 miles an hour to make a left or a right. You're gonna be slowing down. And I don't know that a stop sign is gonna help or hinder one way or the other, but if it does help someone from not being hit by a car coming down the hill, I think it's probably a good idea. But I wanted to see if you've been there, what your thoughts were, so we will revisit this again, if you can just look at it one more time. And then in the meantime, we will reach out to the person that sent us the request and see if they have been talking to their neighbors and find out some more information that way. And then we can make a decision. In the meantime, I had a request on Warner and Kennedy from somebody that lives on Sims Place, and they come out Kennedy.
Yeah,
And people pulling into them and not
Mhm.
stopping or yielding a courteous right away, either way, with or without signage. So if you could look at that intersection also, not necessarily for visibility, I guess, just for safety purposes of people driving in and out of their neighborhood. And yes, it's their neighbors that are gonna maybe run into them, but if we can prevent them from running into them, then I guess we can
Is
prevent
it a
it.
good way to meet them or?
I guess, I don't know. Well, it depends on the neighbor, but it probably is not the best way to
Which, so
to
you're
meet
saying
somebody.
Kennedy at,
No, it stops sign on Warner where it meets Kennedy. Kennedy would not have
Warner
stop
and Kennedy,
signs, just like Bishop would have
I
stop
got you.
signs. But the street coming into it would have a stop sign. I'm not thinking of 3 stop signs at
I
any
mean,
of those corners.
we can just go back to the idea that we all live in areas where there's stop signs and I don't know how well they're. Well,
Okay.
how well they're adhered to.
Okay, next we have a park bench donation, daughter of Kate Doolittle, who was a longtime village resident, lives down. She used to live on Clinton, then she moved around the corner onto Warren Street. She would like to donate a bench in memory of her mother, and her mother loved the canals, so she would like to look at something down near the canal landing, somewhere in that general area. She is going to be in town the end of this week, so she's going to talk with at least Karen, or Karen myself, or Bobby about locations and stuff. So I'd like a motion that we would accept her donation of the bench if she continues through with us or whatever she's been trying.
I would prefer that we actually know where it's gonna go if possible.
The exact location or just the park?
The exact location. The park has many needs. I'm always concerned about where we start saying, okay, no problem, then you just don't know where you're going to put it within the park. That park is actually a fairly large facility and there is a large, you know, there's a large opportunity, but I don't know if it's a pertinent opportunity, is my question.
And
I agree.
I would recommend we also get the input from the Parks Commission.
Well, we asked for that before and they
Oh.
haven't gotten to us with any, I thought they were coming up with an overview of people that want to donate benches to the village.
This is a request that's been out there a year.
Okay.
last September.
I mean,
So
I
we'll
see
see.
no
Well,
reason
no,
for you to
we'll-
proceed and chat with
I'll
her.
put it on the next, so first of
What
all,
request from where?
for this, wait a minute,
This
This
woman,
individual has been,
don't wait, go ahead. Go ahead,
sorry,
you're fine.
I was responding to Jane about the donation. She is offering to donate a bench and she has been. She has put this out there as of last year.
okay,
And
Well, we had a discussion at some meeting and it was said that the parks were going to look at a kind of a, I think at some point, whether you were involved with the parks yet or not, I don't know. At
Okay.
some point, the Parks Commission was going to come up because we had two requests over at Washington Park where there's benches. We've had requests at Baird Park where there's benches. We've had requests for different places where there are benches. So because we, so forget the past, going forward, to make it more feasible, it would be nice if the Parks Commission could look at some of our parks and see where suitable donations would be for
Oh, just-
benches.
pre,
And just have some ideas. So if people do, when people approach the village, because this is probably the fifth or sixth one that I've experienced being on this board. When they approach the village and they want to put a park bench out, we can say, these are the locations that are available to you. We can always add to those locations as time goes by and as those places fill up. But if you could start that process, that would be helpful.
okay,
When this lady's in town, we'll see where she thinks, and Bobby and Karen or myself or the three of us will meet with her. We'll find out an exact location. We can run it, that particular one by the parks if you want to, and bring it back to the next meeting.
I think you're correct. I mean, the parks folks should be looking at and saying, here's where we'd like to have seating in our future. And that also creates a couple opportunities. You understand that as well, Jay. People to donate also for other things that we're working with where it might make sense. So
All right. So
I don't want to, I hate.
definitely don't want to discourage donations.
No, I don't want to
No.
discourage them, but I don't want to be
No,
at
I
this
mean,
ad
does that
hoc
make-
basis where we're just throwing things in places. That's the part that bothers me.
That's correct. We don't want to have answers.
Okay. So maybe we'll revisit this next meeting because we'll have an idea of where she actually wants to place the bench.
Well, the one, last one we had, I think, was in, near you, across the street. from you,
Washington
right?
Park, right?
But I mean, that was an easy one because that's, the lady was right there.
yeah, we have another one at Bears Park that was just put in.
That was just.
That was the last
correct.
one. Fair part.
Golden
I
Park.
thought the one.
Golden Park was worked on and people determined where, but Baird Park was just put in with the tree. And then people noticed it was there. So
Yes.
there was no,
No plans. So let's come up with the plan. Let's ask them to come up with the plan. That would be a good
so
thing. And they
I have no
can,
problem doing that.
Yeah.
That's fine.
yeah, no, and like I say, it could have been talked about before you were involved with the park,
Yeah.
but I don't remember when it was talked about exactly. Okay.
Just so I heard correctly, somebody just put a bench in.
No, the village put the bench
Oh,
in
yeah, not a
there.
private
It wasn't,
person.
Okay.
it wasn't just
Gotcha.
done by Jane Doe or John Doe off
Okay.
the street. It was done by the village, but
Okay,
it wasn't done in conjunction with the parks or a plan. So we'll come up with a plan. Okay. Next is the trash cart rental and recyclable rentals. So I have, I didn't send this to you ahead of time, so this is for your review and like any comments or things, suggestions back to me in a week so that we can finalize this at the next board meeting. So I'm working with DPW, Bobby and Tyler. And we've had a couple of issues since the CART program was rolled out about people that had perhaps a party or something, a graduation party where they ended up with a little bit more trash than what they normally would end up with. So this is to alleviate some of those needs. We don't have a lot of extra totes that we want to introduce into this, so we have 5 of each that we're going to consider. There's some parameters here of, the fees, the penalty if you don't return or if they're damaged or unclean when they return them. The days or how we would like to manage the system as far as delivery and pickup. And that each property, can request one of each or, if they want, or just one of whatever for their particular need. And it's a request that could be made per property twice in a calendar year. So that because we only have 5 of each to lease or rent out, we want to make sure that they're available to people at different times We also ran into this now at the graduation, but for like somebody moving and cleaning out their house that was willing to actually buy a coat and pay for the year's disposal, but they only needed it for 2 weeks, so it wasn't really fair kind of process to do it that way.
Are we, honoring requests for people that want to turn in the big one for a smaller one?
Yeah, I'm just waiting on the shipment to come in of the 64s, and then once I get, I should have that in October. So.
Well,
once
I mean, we, at one point, we said they had to go 90 days before they could do that.
Yeah, we have a list of everyone that's requested it, and then once we get the new cans in, the more 64s, we can start working through that list.
So what do we do with the big ones that are turned in?
We can clean them, use them as rentals, keep them in storage for right now.
Replace anything that needs to be replaced over time. Okay. Ambulance bill waiver requests. So these are not necessarily written as hardship letters. So I didn't write them as hardship, but they're just waiving the fees. The first one came to us from a resident in Liverpool. And this person fell in front of TJ Maxx again. Seems like TJ Maxx has a lot of accident prone things happen to him down there. And someone outside of this man or his wife called for an ambulance, and they came and took his blood pressure, asked a few questions, and then now they got a bill, so now they're asking for us to waive this charge. And it's kind of like the other scenarios. I mean, you can discuss it if you want to or make a motion, but they're not a resident of the town of Manlius that pays taxes into the fire or ambulance program. And they didn't call for the ambulance, but that's not really our responsibility who calls for an ambulance and who arrives there to provide stuff to them. He was checked over and he got a bill. So they're not asking, they're not saying it's a hardship. They're just saying that they didn't call the ambulance, so they don't want to pay the bill at the end of the day or whatever. That's what
I move to reject the request.
I'll second.
moved and seconded. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The second one goes back as far as March 19th. And this was, I think we all remember the discussions that we've had to go to the city of Syracuse to provide ambulance services and emergency services at times. So this is one of those cases, and this gentleman again is saying that he's disputing the charge of $200, and he's requesting that we send him a signed document that he signed for accepting services from the ambulance. So when you go and you're treated, they have you sign a paper, obviously, and stuff that you've been treated or you've acknowledged that you were had care provided and things like that. So again, he's a resident of the city of Syracuse, not or town of Manlius as a taxpayer or whatever. So that's kind of the long and short. And he's not asking as a hardship, just that he's disputing that.
He doesn't want that.
The
I move to reject this
Second.
proposal.
moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Planning board. So you know there was a vacancy on our planning board from a recent resignation. And so I would like to have move Catherine Chapman from the associate position to the full member position on our planning board. You make a motion?
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded. Okay. Any other discussion about Catherine? All in favor?
Aye.
And then I would like to make an appointment for a new associate member of Chris Fiello, Fiello. He lives in the Barbrook neighborhood. And he has a 20+, I asked him to send a few bullet points as to about him. I don't know if anybody knows him specifically or not, but he has a 20+ year career in commercial real estate and understands the process of local boards and presenting and being, involved with local boards of this nature. And he has an experience in commercial real estate as well as finance, leasing, brokerage, and development. He's been a resident of the village of Fayetteville, and he would like to become a more active member of the village by serving on this board. He has a vested interest in helping shape what is already in the area and he has a lot to offer. And his prior real estate, in addition to real estate, he has an accounting and including insurance, waste management, software and technology experiences and things. So he comes from a very type of business type of background and things.
Could you spell his name again?
F like Frank, IELLO. So the planning board chairman has talked to this gentleman and interviewed him and is got and kind of comfortable. He had 4 or 5 different choices of people that he was considering. And so he still has more in his purview of people if we have experienced other openings on that board and or people that he can call on for special times when we need somebody's opinions and resident type of involvement and things like that.
4 or 5 different possibilities, that's great.
I was surprised that he, but you know,
Residents are stepping up, good,
Yeah.
stepping forward. Happy to hear that.
okay, so somebody want to make a motion to
So moved.
I'll second.
moved and seconded. Any other discussion about Chris? Okay, thank you.
All in favor?
What's that?
Do you say aye?
Yes.
Everybody in favor?
All in favor?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
I thought you just all acknowledged that without saying aye. It's okay. My fault. Thanks for reminding me.
No, I just knew that was something I needed to say about what.
That's okay. Next is tree commission appointments. So I will just go over these briefly. I don't know if you want to add anything or not, but anyway, so trustee Casey Mary Hummerstedt has been working on recruiting people for a tree commission. And has done a good job in locating some people and things. So we're kind of recreating this tree commission that we had for many years. Some members lost to death, some by moving, some by resignation. So we kind of were without membership overall. So we had one standing member and that's Richard Halpin. So his term is ending in next year in 2026. So currently, all of with the change of our elections in our village here, things come due in November currently. We are going to be having that on an agenda soon about moving that to January because of the elections being in November. We already talked about this, but just to remind everybody, the elections being in November, if they're not finalized because of count or because of whatever reason, to have something start December 1st would be kind of a problem or whatever. So we're going to push that to December 31st, that it would be the end of their terms and then January 1st would be the start. But anyway, motion that we elevate him from membership to be the chairperson of the tree commission. So I'll start with that. Okay, all in favor? And then for membership, I would, as regular full members, I would make the motion for Frida Windland, whose term would end in 26. Rachel Krisman, whose term would end in 27. Richard Venstra, if I'm saying that right, I hope. His term would end in 28. And Christina Kirkman's term would end in 25. So these are, according to the code book, this is the way we do things, and then they can be reappointed for their 5-year terms accordingly. We just have to stagger them so they don't all go on and off of the commission at the same time. So I make a motion that we would put those 4 people in as full members of the tree commission.
So moved.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion about any of them? And I will just say that one is an ESF grad, one had a former brief tenure on the tree commission, knowledge of pruning and planting, interested in trees, family. One person's dad was an ESF grad, so they have interest there. And then interest in non-invasive and more native trees. So people that are kind of varied, but a little bit of tree experience and or knowledge in general, maybe not as a commission member, but just in general. So that's the background. All in favor?
Aye.
And then for 2 associate members, which their term would be for a 1-year term, which would be inclusive of the last few months of this year and 2025. if this is making sense to everybody. And they would be Elizabeth Kalish and Charity Patel. Elizabeth is a non-village resident, but according to the code, again, we can have a one member of a commission, of this commission, that is a non-village resident, so that she would qualify to be there. So I would make, make a motion for those two to be associate.
I move that we appoint both of those to associate position.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
All right.
Okay. Okay. Tree inventory and management plan. You don't have to talk to that. So let's start with the tree inventory first, and then we'll move on to the management plan.
Okay, I just want to say a couple things. I want to express appreciation to a few people. Mike, you've been great at guiding me through this, as a new trustee, and your experience has been very helpful. Bobby and Tyler are probably sick of talking to me about trees. There's been a lot of conversations, and I appreciate the questions and discussions that I had with other trustees. I also want to recognize in the audience the woman in the back. She's Leanna Nugent, who you've read about in memos, and Leanna is and just so everyone else knows, Leanna is a certified arborist employed by Cornell Cooperative Extension as a community forestry and national resources educator. She is a tree person who is she's like the clearinghouse for all things related to trees. I get emails from her almost every day, whether they're emails. No, she's putting that information out, whether it's grants, conferences, newsletters, opportunities. Leanna has been really very helpful to me, and I anticipate she'll be very helpful as a resource to the tree commission. Part of her job is to help support tree commissions. I just wanted, before I get into the thing about the tree inventory, I just want to point out that we have an opportunity here tonight to check a checkbox in our comp plan. One of trees cross everything, and our commissions, our committees, but in 3 areas of the comp plan: natural and cultural resources, community resources, and climate change adaptation and sustainability. It crosses all 3 of those goals and strategy areas. And one in particular was identify funding opportunities to develop a tree inventory and management plan to determine the health of public street and trees. So I'll skip a little overview for the residents, but Mark had said something to me that was important about really needing to communicate with our residents about this. So we help create an awareness of what we do, and I'm going to try to figure out ways of communicating some of that information. So we have about 38 miles of street trees, and it includes 2,700 trees in our inventory at the moment. We don't have a count on our park trees, but there's 155 acres of parks with probably several thousand trees there. Tonight, we're considering a contract with the Dewey Resource Group for a tree inventory. And our first order of business is the tree inventory, which I believe that the trustees have reviewed. Should I start by making a motion? Mike, start with the motion.
Yeah, I would say start with the motion, then we can discuss it.
May I have a motion to authorize the Davy Resource Group to conduct a computerized inventory data collection of up to 2,000 existing trees, planting sites and stumps at a cost of $15,000.
With the approval of council, then he reviews
With the
this,
approval of council.
reviews
Fine.
or whatever too. Just to be on the safe side. No problem.
Thank you.
They said, are you asking for a motion or are you making the
No,
motion?
she's making a motion.
Oh,
Okay, so it's moved that we would hire the Davy Tree Resource Group to do our tree inventory. This contract is saying for up to 2,000 existing trees and planting sites for a cost of $15,000 with approval of council
approval of council.
for the contract part of it, not for the,
Gotcha.
we approve the,
Gotcha.
but we're doing it contingent that he
Contingent
approves
upon the council's approval of the
of the
contract.
contract, right? Okay, so it's moved by trustee Casey. Anyone second it?
I'll second it.
So we can have discussion.
I want discussion on this. This is a very important piece in our community that we need to have discussion on. one of the things I talked to Casey about was, in fact, what are our options? What are the things we're looking for? Because this also plays into our future. What we have to do in order to prepare ourselves for our planning and working with those. With the trees within our community, because the other part that always is bothersome to me is that our parks don't have any type of plan whatsoever, and they're not telling. We actually have our bird sanctuary, which is a total tree area. And almost would fit into an urban forestry situation for us to look at. There may be a variety of different options for us to look for funding is my only question about some of these in order to be able to move forward. I think the tree inventory is a very vital piece that we have to do somewhere along the line here. We have to make a decision. I don't think we need to make that decision tonight, but I think it's important for us to be in the position where we make that decision in the next couple of months at most.
This decision for what?
Whether to move forward with the tree inventory and understand where we're going for the future and
So
what we
like-
really got to look at. You know, we've got to, yeah, so we're looking at a management plan and trying to be in the position so that we can actually understand the funding so that we can do this properly and do the proper job is really what it's about. Because this is the one kind of thing that we are lacking in our village right now. We actually had a tree inventory done many years ago at this point in time. And our database is outdated on it, and being able to create a database and also be in the position to try to include more of their village is really an important piece, I think. I worked on this last year. And I was not able to move forward with the project that I was looking at because we were trying to do it with a drone scan in order to understand it. We didn't have the kind of detailed information that became available to us when we started looking at what was going on there. But I still am totally adamant that this is one of the things we need to be looking at, but we need to really make sure we understand this all the way through so that we can move forward. That's what I'm looking at. I want us to make sure we have those discussions so that we can in fact work more actually with the population within our community to understand what they think as well a little bit more. And that's the other part that I'm looking at too. And I don't know what other people's thoughts are. I haven't talked to most of you at this point in time, but I know it's a vital piece when we start looking at renewable Fayetteville and our climate smart community project. I also know it's a vital piece when you start looking at the parks. You know, and when I start looking at DPW, it's a very vital part of one of the tools that they need to work with. So this is not, this is a very far stretching piece that I want to make sure that we try to do this properly and actually put it together so that we can do this well for everybody that's included and needs to be handled in this. That's what I'm looking at. So that's, and I know I've expressed that to you before, Casey, so. Yeah.
Right, but I hear you saying that there's something that is not proper about this proposal or the way it was done. If you could clarify
Well,
that.
that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for us to understand how we were going to do everything and we can transition ourselves down the road because those are our budgetary concerns and where we're going. I have no problem with those budgetary concerns as long as we outline them so we understand what we're looking at, because we're going to end up being in a position where we buy into things because we really have to. At this point for a long-term budget, we can't look at this and just say this is a one-off.
Right, that's
That's the problem that I'm looking at.
So, but
I want us all to understand that. That's what I mean.
to continue that and probably to rephrase a little bit of what you're saying. An inventory is needed. Because what we have in reality and what we have in our system don't match up.
Right.
And for us to manage what we have in reality, we need the inventory first. So this is great that we have taken this step to try to get the inventory. But I also shared with Trustee Cleary that is just the first step. We also need to know what to do with the data. How will the data help us so that we can better manage all that we have in our community? And not just prune appropriately, but to understand our financial needs so we can manage our financial costs. I recently have been spending time in the county hazard management plan in the Fayetteville annex or chapter. And it dawned on me, one of the hazards that we face in our community is actually, bad storms. Our storms are getting a little bit more intense. And so our trees come down, which then take our wires down. So the crossover there between tree inventory, tree management and hazard mitigation plan became very evident to me. So I think that's what Mark is also suggesting, is that let's move forward with this inventory, but we can't just do the inventory. We have to also collect the data in a way, and I'm because we talked about this, trustee Clear, that the data is going to come in with the Davy group. They're going to bring the data to DPW in their current cartograph system so that we have the data at our disposal and can then move forward with what, even if the Davy group ends up doing our management plan, but that's not been decided yet. Yep, right? This is just for the inventory?
Right now, we're just talking about the inventory. We're talking about street trees. But I understand what I'm hearing is that we're just talking about the street trees at this moment in this particular expense. And
It's crazy expensive.
our street trees are important to us. Not, I won't say any more important than our park trees, but more important in the everyday type of wires and situations that way. But I don't want to, again, lose focus of what either of you were saying about other trees that are village trees, as far as park trees and or where we look to for management and or forestry. We already had discussions years ago at Dewitt Park about making that an active working type of forest up there and things. We didn't pursue that at that particular point in time. We did some logging up there and cut some stuff out at recommendations of arborists or tree people or whatever, for that forest area. But we have a lot to look at, as you're saying, in the village. It's not just street trees, although that's important because of like grants for maintaining and pruning and stuff is going to be more street trees than probably park trees and stuff.
Casey does have one point. I'm going to say that really straight up. Without the tree inventory, you cannot apply for grants for the other processes that go along with
Right.
managing your systems.
Right.
So that is one of the biggest pieces that goes along with it. But I want to just make sure that everyone has clear eyes on this, that we are in fact looking at trying to do more than just collect the numbers.
Of trees,
Correct.
of the quality of
Exactly.
condition. Right?
And I mean, that's really the important part, because the other part is that we continue along with our climate change and we're looking at our increased heating that's going on. The trees actually modify that for our community in order to keep the temperature down. But of course, we're having more additional storms, as you were pointing out, Mike. So we also have damage to those. And so we have to figure out how to deal with this fairly quickly in order to go with a planning process also. So when I'm looking at this, I'm saying, okay, we go here, you have the funds set aside for this already. But I want to make sure we understand that we are going to be in the position where we're going to be looking at our next budget in order to continue on.
We're going to build on this.
We have to build on this, because if you don't, it's a waste of your funds.
It's going to be an inefficient use of the data. I agree with that. We have to build on it to make this an efficient use of this.
And I'm really trying to make a point.
Yeah.
That we in fact cannot just do the one-off, click the box that we've done a tree inventory. We need to be in the position where we're moving forward and we're going to try to do more as far as manage this resource. And bear in mind, this is a major resource for our community, for the benefit of our residents, in order to move forward and actually help them with their quality of life and all of our quality of life. So that's the issue.
Dan? Doug?
Talk to Casey, she explains what's going on. It's fine with me. I mean, I don't have any. I don't think I have anything to add.
Thank you for all of those comments, and I will also watch the live stream and think about them again. I do want to just clarify that this has been, coming to this decision has been conducted with great seriousness and a lot of consultation with DPW as well as Cornell Cooperative Extension. If this isn't going to go the way I hope, Andrew Ullman had offered to be here by Zoom tonight. And if necessary, that could be an option in the future. It is very clear to me that just a spreadsheet of data on the trees is not what we need. through the past 5 months, I've been in a lot of conversations about trees in multiple for different reasons. And I am very much aware of the fact that we have a backlog of need. I remember in 2019, since 2019, discussing the need for a tree inventory, and attempts were made to get them, but because it's a chicken and an egg situation, we aren't going to be able to move forward. So I think it's great that we've allocated that for first $15,000 to take this first step, knowing that it's just a step, that we have a tremendous amount of trees. Many of them are aging, and we need to get a handle on that. And also, I want to point out that my hope is to continue to write grants in this area. We are behind, and our DPW could use help like they used to get in the past when we would hire a professional tree service to do a quadrant of our village at a time for the maintenance that's beyond what they are trained to do and have the time to do. So I believe that we've already been discussing a viewpoint that goes beyond just the data. And that I have also mentioned to all of you that we anticipate that there will be a DEC RFP on for tree related work. And that this particular step helps move us along in being competitive for a grant, which I will write for the maximum amount, which at this point, my understanding would be $75,000. And that potential RFP should come out. There's no further clarification as of today. And when it will come out, it will be either this fall or in the spring. And what we will have is the information to say, this is what we need to do, hopefully. So I'm looking at this as we are moving forward in a positive direction, seating our tree commission. The tree commission will have information to work for, because right now our data is not up to date. Although the DPW has really tried hard, and they're constantly working on trees. And some days it's an emergency tree operation, and some days it's something planned, but there's always a constant backload of tree work. So I very much hope that we can go forward with this tonight.
Casey, do you mind if I add something? So Casey mentioned, I'm an arborist. I'm trained actually as a municipal arborist, and so I have a lot of experience with tree inventories. And I've worked with Davey a lot in the past, and I have nothing to gain by endorsing them. In fact, I am not allowed to technically endorse them. But they have been, I think, the most professional company that I've worked with. If you're not aware, they are doing Manlius's inventory as well. And especially Andrew, who we've been working with, is really on top of it. I feel like Davey is really a really great option. Is going to provide a really thorough management plan if we do go in that direction. To speak to the tree risk aspect of it with hazards, the Davey will provide what are called level 2 risk assessments, which is a full risk assessment of a tree, which will tell you, exactly how risky it is, what a target would be, what the tree would potentially hit, what the consequences are. So they will provide that for every tree, which is really helpful. And you can, take that information and do what you need to do with the trees. And they're not only doing that, but to look forward, they're providing planting spaces, which not only opens you up for more grant opportunities, but also when the DEC puts out a grant for planting, you have a list right there that you can just say, okay, good, we have 100 places. Let's plant right there. So yeah, to me, it feels like this is a really logical next step. And again, I have nothing to gain whether you approve it or not. I don't get paid anymore if you approve the inventory. But to me, as in my expertise working with other councils similar to this seems like a very logical first step to get the tree commission back on track.
Thank you.
Any other discussions?
I just wanted to add, to build a little bit on the Davey Group, some of the board members may recall, I had provided some information that Davey Group has over 30 years of experience in conducting these kinds of inventories, and they inventory over 2 million trees annually. In New York State alone, they've conducted projects such as this in 33 towns and villages, including the city of Syracuse. This proposal itself was something that was very educational in terms of laying out what we need to do. moving forward with the data. So,
So, yeah, finally, I will, if you don't go with the management plan option or you need some additional help with it, that's really what I'm here for. I can help you interpret the data. As I said, I'm a municipal arborist, so I know what the data means and even help you, if you need to interpret the management plan, that's what I'm here for.
the idea that we'll be working with arborists, I think, is very valuable to all of the villages because our work has not been guided, at least in recent years, by an arborist.
Actually a requirement in New York State, if you're gonna be doing anything in a climate smart community with through the DEC, et cetera, there's no other option.
Yep.
That is the way you have to go.
That was even true for the little tiny tree grant.
Yeah.
We had to work with an arborist,
Exactly.
and then it's going to be reviewed by arborists. So, yeah.
Okay, another discussion? Have a vote, then? All in favor? Aye.
I,
Aye.
Okay. Okay, and in conjunction with that, there's also, we had talked when we had initially gotten proposals from the Davy Group. We had, this for each of us, or,
there's one for everybody.
thanks.
Most of them have seen it.
So when we talked about the Davy Group before, there was three parts to their original proposal to us. One was the tree inventory. One was the data and keeping track of that. And the third thing was this management plan. So obviously, we just heard that with the data, we need some kind of a plan to go with that. They are offering, in case you can correct me if this is wrong, but they're offering like a 5-year plan that they would put together based upon what their findings are with the trees that are in the inventory. Can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, you're right. Nope.
And kind of give us this 5-year plan as far as what should be done probably as more prioritized over those 5 years and or general types of information. I've had some conversations with Trustee Casey in regards to the tree commission budget and currently budgeted this year $6,200 in that budget. Typically out of that budget, each fall, we've done a fall planting at a different site with the bare root system of planting and things. And we have scaled down the numbers of trees that we planted the last few years based upon availability of tree commission people and workers and decision makers in regards to that. From what I'm hearing, the proposal is out here for us to, again, hire them in their conjunction with their inventory to perhaps do this tree management plan for us. It would be a 5-year plan and the cost is around $5,000. That we would utilize the tree commission budget money for this. This is not money that we budgeted in a different place in our budget this year. We weren't even really thinking about this at budget time as far as a management plan is concerned and things like that. So that would still leave $1,200 in this budget for like an Arbor Day celebration and or whatever we have to do for the planting of the, if we get that other grant, the planting of that tree and different things like that or whatever. So I guess I'd like to open the discussion to see if we are ready to move forward with this, if there's more questions on this, if there's what people's thoughts are on this aspect.
So you have funds to move forward to it at this point in time?
Well, where are the funds for the 15? I thought the 15 I thought the tree commission funds were gonna be used for the 15 that we just approved.
No, there's only 6,200 in here. I thought we put the 15,000 into like our contingent. budget.
There's a separate line in the budget that we approved for $15,000 for the tree inventory.
That's for a tree inventory, correct?
Yes,
We-
right.
We discussed it.
Yeah,
during
we
budget
discussed it
hearing.
during budget time.
Did we put it? I didn't know where we put it. If we actually put it in that line item or in the general.
Because there was a specific line item for the tree inventory.
Mhm.
And excuse me for not pulling it out. I can't remember where it is off the top of my.
No, that's fine if you remember doing it.
But I-
So we put,
Well,
we put money aside.
we did put 15,000 aside for a
Okay.
tree inventory. Where it is exactly in the budget,
Yeah.
Lori's not here to tell us, and she
Right.
would be able to tell us like in a snap of a finger.
Your ears are ringing. right
I didn't
now.
look for it today because I just I know what's in there, I just don't know where it
And I
is.
remember the
didn't go
conversation
looking
about
for
it, so it's not,
So if we were to
Crazy.
spend
You brought
5,
it up.
huh?
You brought it up. In
Actually, Casey and I both brought it up. We
Yeah.
talked about it. We actually increased the cost of it because we had it at 10,000 and we moved it up because we understood that it was actually gonna cost us more than what we had initially in there for the 10.
right, so this additional 5,000 would come out of the tree commission budget, and instead of planting trees, more trees, so we don't know if that's a good or bad thing according to a management type of plan or situation.
Right.
Or obviously, it's already we might as well say the middle of September, so we would be running out of time to kind of do it for this year anyway. In general, because they usually get planted in November, so.
Right.
You know, they have to know the trees to dig and prepare for. us
Yeah,
to
it's
be
sort of
prepared
cart before the horse, and I
type
agree
of
with you.
stuff, and I think rather than just keep adding to something that we don't know why we're adding to it or what we're adding to it, we'd be better off spending money on something like this.
Right, this will actually direct us in order to understand what kind of plantings we should be doing, also talking about the rehabilitation of trees, et cetera. So there's a wide variety of things that we haven't dealt with yet.
Right, so again, for your opinion, as far as the Davy group as opposed to other groups that do management plans, do you have any thoughts you can share with us to make us
Off the record now.
off the record? No, I'm not, I mean, you don't have to promote them. You
No,
can
yeah.
say that you've seen others that
I have
not
seen
been
others.
as good or not been as beneficial or not been as thorough or whatever the right terms
I
are.
will
that
say
you-
for the cost, Davy is very, very thorough. I have seen some from some other companies that we got quotes from that were charging a lot more for a lot less information. And because Davy has so much experience in this area, I'd
That's
say
the DPW
they're
trees.
definitely a better option than a lot of the other companies out there.
I can't find anything else.
I have a question about this. First of all, this is just the layout of the plan. It's not really the layout of the process for management plan, for the development of a management plan. It's just the layout of the plan itself. A little bit of the process. My question is, will there be community involvement? Not in the inventory, that needs to be done by the experts. But once you have the inventory, will Davy Group establish some kind of community involvement in the development of the plan?
Okay, so how it works is they will send a team here. It takes 2 to 3 weeks. They could do it in October. They develop a plan that they present to the board. And that plan also goes to the tree commission. It's the tree commission's responsibility in our code to develop an annual plan that covers a lot of this. So we would be empowering a new tree commission with the information they need to select from the recommendations, what they want to do in year 1, what they want to do in year 2. So there isn't a community involvement piece in developing the plan because the plan is developed by arborists who've done the inventory here, right? The plan. So when it comes to community involvement, that is the tree commission's role in our code in developing a plan.
Like, for an example, I've seen like the Syracuse management plan will say, you know, just so you know, there's an overabundance of this invasive maple tree here. They're not gonna say like, you don't. they're not gonna say,
Little
you don't
shoots are
recommend
growing in my
planting it, or, you know,
backyard.
They're not
Yeah.
gonna give you any of that sort of recommendation of like, you need to plant more service berries or whatever. It'll just say, this is what the data tells us, that you have a lot of this invasive maple tree. And then it's up to the tree commission to take that and say, maybe we shouldn't plant those anymore.
And at this point, we can't provide them with that kind of information.
And I'm
But
not sure if the
moving forward-
community involvement would pertain to street trees outside of like a tree commission or the village board or input. We could certainly have community like input or workshops or something,
I
but
mean,
but again, I mean, John Doe that wants a tree in front of their house and they want a tree that
that's a
isn't gonna
different,
fit
that's a
there.
different process.
That's what I'm saying, like, I mean, it depends on how you want the community involved.
Yeah.
And
Well, I
what
think it's
they might
important for the
decide.
community. I think it's important for the community to be involved because they have to understand what we're trying to do with a tree. When you start getting into your tree management, what's going on, so that they can understand what's happening, what
Right,
they
no,
really
I-
are looking for.
Right,
and
but I
understand
think we
as
need
well.
to kind of present them with some ideas of what
Correct.
they're looking at, not
That's what I-
necessarily look
That
for
can be
them
done
to
in a
give us
workshop
the
environment.
ideas or whatever, right?
And I would, it is going to be up to the tree commission to decide what they want to do, but I foresee that we will be doing things similar to what the village has always done. we will be having workshops, and the winter is a nice time to do that, where we will be learning. We will be learning a lot of things from Leanna, who can herself or bring in others from, if we're gonna have our tree commission go out and prune trees, we're gonna need to know about tree identification, we're gonna need to know about pruning. So a lot of the work that the tree commission has done in the past has been very hands-on, and that has been very helpful to DPW. But the public awareness part is integrated into our work as a tree city. And, so there's going to be many opportunities for community involvement and community awareness activities. In my mind, but that will be the decisions of the tree commission going forward in consultation as the liaison from the board to the tree commission.
Are you more comfortable having somebody come in from the Davy Group, Andrew or whoever, to talk to us about this before
I
we
think
make
that
a
would be
decision
awesome.
on the management plan? I mean, you got the concept, you got the ideas, we got the idea of
Totally.
where we're funding it from.
Yeah.
Things of that nature, but are you more comfortable having?
I would really like
setting
them.
that
I mean,
up
we've
for our
already
next
approved the
meeting?
contract to do the tree inventory.
The next meeting.
Is it a problem with that, Casey, at all, in talking to them? Did
I'm
they-
sorry, there's three.
I apologize.
I just,
Can't process all three at once. I'm with you. Is there a problem with having somebody from the
Davy Group.
Davy Group come in and explain to them what the management planning will be, a little more detail so we understand?
he was ready to go tonight. So
Okay.
I know Andrew, I'm very confident to say Andrew will really want to come. It was just a question of his availability at that night.
But you
so-
can always join us.
Oh, no, he has
He's
to.
coming from
He
Brooklyn,
was,
so.
yeah.
He is coming.
Well, he
No,
would be
he
coming
had
from Brooklyn, so that's.
Oh,
we can zoom in.
It's Zoom
well,
in.
tonight we have a nice
You
place
can
to
still-
visit.
We expected he would be joining us tonight through Zoom. But there have been times when Andrew said, I'll come up if I need to. But
Come
I
up.
think for the efficiency sake, I think Zoom would make sense.
And if it's helpful, you can just Google the Syracuse tree management plan, you can see the whole thing there.
I appreciate that. I don't think any of us are
I don't think we're
questioning
questioning their-
Davey's
I don't know
qualifications.
if this is about Davy, but I'm just saying to see what a management plan looks
And
like.
I've written 1,000 plans, so I generally understand how it's gonna come out, but it would be really nice since we haven't met them. And since this is really critical to our 5 to 10 years out of where we go and how we do this. And this is manage our trees and everything that means. So I would really like to hear from the Davy Group. I also, I'm not ready to act on this management plan because this is not a proposal, right? This is just an outline.
This was integral to the first proposal. So this, where you see task 3 taken out, there were, what you have before you and you voted on was the second proposal. So this was in the
That's-
original.
okay.
proposal.
Right, but this is not in, this isn't what
Not
we
in it
just
now.
voted on,
We
and
did-
this is
we didn't
different,
approve
so we
this.
need a new like
We need
basically.
a
This
separate-
would have its own contract, and
Right.
that's why Mike
Right.
wanted to do it under 2 different motions.
Yeah.
Right,
Right.
yeah, so that's why we haven't made a motion about this, I guess the census is. We would like them to come here at our next meeting to answer any questions, make a presentation, if they want to bring a contract with them for doing that,
Right.
we're welcome to look at that, they can
Right.
send any of that stuff ahead of time. We can refer it to Ted in the meantime, things, just in case we want to move on it more rapidly than that. We could have stuff in place, but we just can't guarantee 100%, so we don't, I guess, till we get answers.
Until it's
Or
done, it's not
some
done.
more, some more information, but until we could have this discussion, then we really didn't know if that's what we needed to do, whatever, so.
I think we're moving in the
I
right
don't think
direction.
anybody's got any feelings that we shouldn't be moving in this direction. I think it's something that everybody's in agreement with. In general.
In
let's put
general,
it
I mean,
in general,
there's too many impacts here for across the whole entire community that we're working for. That we have to really be looking at this. There's no question in my mind.
Okay,
If you wanted to just share his contact information for the next meeting.
So the next meeting?
yeah,
On this?
yep.
So Casey, can you arrange to try to have that contact for our next meeting?
Karen's
That's
gonna
what we were
help.
just
This you're doing?
We'll
Okay,
be on it.
thank you.
Okay. So trustee Casey, anything else?
Just want to say something about a tree. Leanna, one of the things is, this valuable relationship, there were Cornell Cooperative Extension had a big display at the New York State Fair. And there were 3 trees that needed a home, and we will be, RDPW will be picking up a Norway spruce. I got my approval for that, before we went forward with it. So.
Thank you, and thank you. Okay. Dan? Got anything?
What's that?
Do you have anything you want to?
Yeah,
Okay, your turn.
what's it, Ted, what's going on up at the, what is it, 825 or whatever that is up there? Is that-
The accurate die casting
Yeah,
place, we're
accurate die
waiting
casting.
for the courts to decide.
So, as the board recalls, Ms. Ross filed 2 separate Article 78 proceedings. The first one was to challenge the zoning board's interpretation that allowed for the building to be considered a legal non-conforming building that could be modified for use of the new proposal. That particular legal proceeding has gone through the Supreme Court here locally in Onondaga County, the Appellate Division in Rochester, and she has pending a request to the New York State Court of Appeals to review her losses at the 2 lower levels. That's the first proceeding. The second proceeding, she commenced an Article 78 proceeding against the planning board's site plan approval. And that was heard locally, and she was denied her request. It is scheduled to be argued in front of the Appellate Division in Rochester this next month, I think October 22nd, but I'm not sure. So those are the 2 separate actions that remain pending and where they're at.
Okay, so now that people see things going on down at the bottom of the hill, they're anxious about this. So how much do you think this has cost us so far? One person cost the village of Fayetteville.
Off the top of my head, I don't recall. I think
50,000?
I don't,
The last I heard it was around 80,000.
Well, it was 30 at one point, but
What's the point?
what's the point?
Yeah,
The
what's your
point
point?
is, the point is that it's kind of embarrassing to the village, all of us, the village itself, that one person can hold this up and cost the village so much.
Excuse me, it's
But
within
this
their
is-
legal
It's-
rights to do so, so I don't have a
That's
problem.
absolutely right. I'm not embarrassed at all. I'm actually very proud of our decisions because we've won on every case, on every point. She just keeps appealing the judge's decisions, which is her right to do. That's the way our legal
You-
system is.
Okay, so people ask me and I say, I don't know.
What do you mean you
That's
don't
not
know?
embarrassing. I don't know. I just found out
Oh,
now.
well, I appreciate that it is,
I
people
think it's
ask me all the
embarrassing.
time. I'm not embarrassed at all.
Okay,
I am actually very well, I have the legal background, so I understand that any one person had the right to appeal all of the decisions that were made along the way with respect to the applicant's proposal to build a grocery store. So it's disappointing. I'm not embarrassed, but it is very disappointing that it's been years and it may be another full year before we're completely out of the court system. That is very disappointing. And there's nothing as a village and as a board, there's nothing we can
There's
do about
nothing they
that.
can do.
We
I know.
can't interrupt it. We can't
That's-
move it along. We can't speed it up.
There's no way to speed it up.
No, because.
So this thing can keep going.
It will-
No, I mean, she has 3 tries. She went to the first one is at the 3rd try
Right.
level.
Okay,
So when they make that decision, which I don't know if we have an idea of when that could happen.
It's pending, meaning she hasn't appealed it. Like she hasn't gone up there yet.
no, she submitted
No,
a
the 3rd
request
one, she said.
asking the Court of Appeals to review it.
Oh.
And
okay.
we're waiting for the Court of Appeals to
To
either,
say whether they will or won't.
either approve her request
All
or
right,
deny.
that's
it.
So then if the second lawsuit is going to trial in October.
Yep.
And towards the end of October, And if she loses there, then she has the right to send it to this other court, to
Okay.
the last, and this
Court
is
of
the last
Appeals.
one that she can send it to.
Yep.
And that could take another, I don't know when the last one went to them, part of the.
It's been several months.
Oh. You know,
And they're back in session, so we're hoping that. the
How long
Court of
has it been
Appeals-
since all this started?
Oh, my God.
How many years? Were you on the planning board?
2 years.
We were on the
At
planning
least 2
board?
years, yeah.
Yeah,
And remember. It is costing the village taxpayers money, but that is not to the. Reason or excuse of any action taken by a board of trustee member or any planning board member or any zoning board of appeals member. It's just is a consequence of having to defend our decisions. The applicant who is bringing all these lawsuits, it's costing her the same dollar amount
Right.
on her own. So
and it's also, you know, it's the American way and it's the
It's-
American right and
it is
it's
the
the
right
way
to
the
do this.
system is set up, so I don't
So-
I don't disagree with.
So one person is holding up
Yeah.
4,700 people.
yeah. And then,
That can
you know,
happen, that's how.
That's American.
it's happening nationally too. One per, so, anyway, Dan, I'm glad you brought it up because I think it's important.
Well, I mean, I haven't had a report in a long time.
Yeah,
I asked Karen about it. She said that Ted has been talking to the planning board about it. So I didn't know, but just as soon as something happened down below, then everybody jumped on this other one. When is it gonna happen? Stand in church, where I stand, Mike knows where I stand. When people come in, 7:30 mass. Bang, 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 bang.
There you go.
So,
Oh. Okay, anything else?
let's see. Yeah, I got some things from Mike Jones, but I will do that with him privately about a couple of issues, different places where things are a mess.
Okay,
there's a few places.
What?
There's a few properties where things are a mess.
Well, yeah, if you drive through the village, once a month, I try to get every place. There's 2 or
There's,
3 that are really bad.
There's, I sent to you guys, I forwarded an email that I received from state comptroller.
Yep.
If you read down, go towards the bottom of that email, there's, I've got to look into it. There's a law, state law, I think that they just, or grant opportunity that was just passed. It's intended to help private landlords improve properties, rental properties, okay, that have been vacant for a while.
Okay, I'm gonna have you drive by 402 Warren Street.
Yes, is that the one that's
burned,
burned down?
yeah.
Yeah. That
It's gross.
actually came to
It's
my,
gross.
it is gross, and we should.
I mean, I
And the
can give you
one
other
that's
ones
being
too.
Sold, so hopefully something will be changing with that.
Yeah, okay.
But that's what came to my mind as soon as I read that. I'm like, oh, maybe we can leverage this somehow. I
But
don't
it's
know.
been a long
Right.
time.
I know, but this just came out, so I'm not saying.
well,
that-
look at the one in Southfield, it's the insurance companies probably.
I know.
They're holding it up for
You're
whatever.
right.
The one in Southfield was
Yeah, but
forever.
this, I understand that, and actually that worked out good. We finally got some action going. But it'd be nice if we
So-
could see the action.
I agree. It would be nice, but
Okay,
Okay.
anything else?
No, I got a couple things with Mike, as I said. Okay.
Okay, you had some things.
yeah, just very quickly, the senior center cottage is moving forward. I think the painting is almost, as Bobby is left.
I think it's pretty much.
He's
complete.
pretty much done, right?
Mhm.
The exterior painting, our next steps are to replace the windows, and the stonework will be improved upon. Hopefully next week or so he'll start.
Now, the cottage, the bills that are coming through are 1620 or 1622, but we're all gonna get paid back by
Yeah, we'll
the
get,
grant.
From the grant.
they'll be submitted to the
But
grant.
they're not written at the top of the grant. I talked to you about it before.
You mentioned it, but I
Yeah.
have to run this by.
Well, there's
Laura.
1620 and
How it's gonna
1622.
get, like, It's going to the 0.2 account. Because this
Right,
is something as part of the
I
grant.
understand
That's all I know.
that. Okay.
We will, Dan, I'll be happy to talk with you when Lori gets in. We've had a couple of different grant programs that we have been using to pay for this. So all of our costs are being
Gonna be reimbursed.
will be
eventually.
reimbursed through the grant.
Right.
There's at least 2 programs we're working with.
What's that great big shovel doing up there?
I don't know the big show,
Digger.
the digger, I think to remove the plant materials around there. A lot of the a lot of the plants that were growing around the cottage were just invasive and
Sure.
growing willy-nilly, so they brought in the shovel to move those plants,
Who's they?
DPW.
Thank you.
And that is actually one of the decisions which will bring to the board. We've got we wanted to get the structure done first, as I mentioned, and then we're gonna look at the landscaping because there's a lot of need for maintenance with some already established and things up there, you know, and we just have to, I think we really need to coordinate how that gets improved upon in the future, like the memory garden, the Wortley Park, you know, all of that just needs some help. So,
May I just say one thing about the Wortley Park? I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but I was going to get together a couple of volunteers just to do that one little garden space. In anticipation of possibly having a tree in that right close to there.
Just to weed it.
Okay? Just to weed it.
Yeah, that's fine.
all right, so, can't read this. Oh, the hazard mitigation plan, just the county, Onondaga County. Every 5 years, it updates its hazard mitigation plan, and it runs its plan and includes all of the villages and towns in the county, Fayetteville being one of them. We've been informed that they're going through this process this year, and we're still working on our plan right now, the Fayetteville section of the plan, and we want to focus on possible projects or actions that we think will be necessary to mitigate either stormwater, either manage stormwater or flooding or whatever else hazard that we think affects us. And trees came up on that one too. So we're working on that. That's in process right now.
When you say we,
I've been working closely with Mike Jones and Mayor Small. And there are some details in here that neither one of us know the answer to, so we're gonna talk to Bobby, because the DPW knows that, so that's the collective we, and then Mark is familiar with some stormwater management issues that we all need to talk with, so I'm just trying to pull from, and I also think I should talk with Paul. The fire department.
so is there something that I should be reading?
Oh, you're welcome, I'll send you a copy.
Thanks.
You don't have to, meaning it doesn't involve the Parks Commission, it doesn't involve any of the other boards or the tree commission, but you're welcome to read it.
More of an
Sounds like an
update, we
important
already
thing
have
to
a
be followed.
plan,
Say it again?
it's more of an update, we already have a plan.
Yeah, the
We
plan
just
was
have-
Already have the plan and
2019 and we're just
stuff,
updating it, but yeah, you can read it. It's not necessarily,
Stimulating reading.
no, you gotta get up and do a couple of jumping jacks to get through the next
Yeah,
section,
I
so.
just, I need to come up to speed on it, so.
Parks, bike trails, we're gonna push this off into next meeting. All it is Good Park, off-road bike trails and Golden Park. We have received, the village and the Parks Commission specifically have received tremendous amount of support from Central New York Yurt. It's a consortium of bike enthusiasts, and they really, it's important to them to keep a lot of the bike trails in Central New York really active and viable. They came out in the spring and really helped clean up a lot of the trails, made them safer. So I just thought it'd be really good for us to issue a thank you to them. That's all, just a public thank you.
Who decides what bike trail is going to be put in? The parks?
Parks, I mean, you know,
Okay. Do they-
I think by default, that's all I want to say.
Okay,
No one else was paying
Well-
attention and they're bike enthusiasts, so.
what what's good for one person riding a bike might not be good for the other. And I don't know what, if you put it in and someone then comes back and I don't want to happen, it's an injury or something like that, and they come back and they say, well, this was not put in correct.
Oh, well,
I don't know.
yeah,
I worry about insurance. Ted would be able to probably fill us in. I mean, I want bike
Bike
trails.
at their own risk or have a sign up there that says.
Yeah.
biking
it does
at their
say,
own
it does
risk
say,
or
I
whatever.
think there's a sign already.
I thought we put
Yeah.
one there
Yeah.
that said that.
I
Bike
like,
at your own
I
risk.
like the idea of bike trails.
But I
What-
will, what I know about off-road biking, which is really a teeny bit.
Well, you ride a
I
bike.
do, I ride at
Your
Greenland.
husband does.
Ever go off the
I
road?
did, I
You
took a
could-
header
you
straight
could
into a
make-
stream.
You could make a judgment on whether something's too,
It is, at your own risk is the number one thing to keep in mind. Number two, the trails follow the topography and the contour that's already there. They're not building, they're not building piles of things. They're just following an already existing contour. What Central New York Dirt did, they provided these particular gravel stones. I don't know the size of them, but it really helped to eliminate some of the really muddy areas that can cause problems.
I like that.
Yeah.
Is there a way to get from there, from ours over to Green Lakes?
Not without crossing Route 5.
Okay. No bridges?
No, you have to cross Route 5, which
Your
is,
park back, you'll put a bridge.
yeah, but anyway, that's all.
Okay.
I will pass. I was planning to put a resolution to get, very simple resolution, thanking Central New York Dirt.
Yeah,
Run it by all of
that's
you
fine.
before that meeting.
okay.
In your interest of moving forward, I have nothing.
Okay, you're all gonna get a note from me after I meet with Bob and the person about the pickleball court down in the vicinity of Little League Park.
Well, what, there's another court
It goes bong.
Somebody wants to put one down there.
down at the Little League?
Well, no,
Right
in
next to
that,
the
in that
playground?
area, which will be,
Are they trying to take over the parking lot or are they
It's gonna be
looking
very-
to cross the canal?
is gonna be very difficult with the situation that we have now with the people on Brooklyn.
Of course.
And people then on Sims and that place over there, if we put them in, because they do make a noise.
They do make noise.
But there's been some unfortunate incidents when people from not from Go to Coulter about.
So there have been some unfortunate instances when people who are not from
Fayetteville.
Fayetteville,
No, they're from Pitt.
but they're not from that neighborhood. And they go in there and play. And that's
Yeah, there's been a couple.
people
unfortunate-
get mad because these other people are really good and they beat them.
I don't
Maybe.
know.
Okay. My only comment in response, Dan, is I feel very strongly that if we, including benches, whatever we do down in Canal Landing and in that area, we really need to have a firm plan instead of throwing little
Absolutely.
things in there willy-nilly.
Yeah,
'cause
one
it's-
offs aren't gonna work there at all. You're gonna be
No.
in trouble.
You are,
Absolutely.
No, and that's
And I-
how it's been done in
Yes,
the
I was gonna-
past, and so it's, we
I pointed
run into
out-
some problems.
I pointed out all the bad things that might take place.
I think,
And, but I do have to listen to them because they would
Yeah.
just like to know
yeah.
if we could do something.
I will tell you that the Parks Commission talked about Canal Landing quite a bit. And their perspective 6 months ago or 9 months ago was Canal Landing has some features that are unique to Canal Landing, and we should be looking at recreational opportunities unique to those features. We have water features and other features down there that don't exist anywhere else. Now, pickleball court can be placed anywhere.
Right.
So,
Well, he's talking further in by the ball fields, not necessarily.
Yeah, but-
Yeah, just looking down further. I know.
But still,
exactly.
there's
Yeah.
but you got the feeder, you got a lot.
But there's some real issues dealing with that as well. You're correct.
All right.
God, we all hear it.
I think the neighborhoods really need to have an idea when we're gonna do things like this, because the pickleball courts have, you know, it's loud, it goes late into the night, in the summer. So the noise for the people who live around there is significant, as was similar to the Duke Dog Park for those neighbors who lived in proximity to that.
But there was a request. Well, and about the dog park.
Well, I
Like,
think
what
that
was
the
the
point
request?
that Jane's point
Okay.
about, you need to have a
Alright.
plan for what.
I got a couple of things to say and then we're gonna end the, okay, no, you're fine. So just an update on the trash cans that we approved to Pat Bundy's location down the street. Towards the back side of her building, on the south side of her building, so as you're facing on the right, on the back, there is a stairway that goes up and that's where she intends to keep the cans, so they will be out of sight, they will not be.
I noticed they were
Uh,
moved from
they
their
won't be,
other location.
Yeah, they won't be, there won't be a need for a shed or a storage unit for the cans.
Okay.
So if anybody's looking for one, we're looking to see how that's gonna move along. That's not gonna happen. At this point.
The first week, one of them fell over, when they got picked up.
Well, that's okay. Then the other thing was we got a letter from the New York State Parks Recreation Historic Preservation in regards to the Historic Preservation Fund, CLG grant that was submitted, and they did not, give us the grant.
Did not award. Okay.
They did not
They what?
award it. They did not award the grant. There's a email here that I can share with Pam about, if you want to discuss the details of your grant application and provide insight on how you might strengthen the proposal. So I will share that. I haven't met with Pam about it or talked to her about this yet. I just got the letter.
That'd be great, because this is annual.
Right,
opportunity,
right. So we'll talk to the historic preservation. It was in regards to the electric canal. So I will talk with Pam and Craig about this. And so they can maybe reach out to them, get some information. Pam did her best at putting this together for the village, and it was a short time frame period that she had to work with. And so, you know, but they're saying, of course, that they had double the amount of requests than what they had money for.
Always
So,
competitive.
you know, it's one of those things that maybe we don't get it in the first round, but maybe we get it on the second try or something like that, based upon what they might be able to tell us to help strengthen our application and things. So just wanted to thank them for their efforts in putting it together, even though we didn't receive it. And hopefully we can follow up with one in the near future.
Well, there's a project that won't go away.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
And I don't mean, I mean, it's only been around for 150 years, so.
Who got
It's
it?
funny.
No, they didn't tell us who got it. We
Okay,
can probably
because it
look
would be
online
good to
and
find out, and maybe they did something that they could help us in our next go round.
Well, that's where you just call the,
So it's a good idea to.
Yeah.
We'll follow.
Yeah, follow up. I think it's also difficult too, because you're looking at a site-specific
Right.
program that you're looking for as well. So it's very difficult in order to be able to do that and do that well sometimes. Sometimes it's easy.
well,
but-
sometimes, you're right, no, but I think with site specific like that, you need details, you need dollar. It's not a general
No, it's not.
thing, and you need, measurements.
some of that was also like, there was some village contribution and things like that, as far as that goes. So that would come into, again, like our budgeting and things like that. So obviously, we're coming to the end of the year. After the first year, we'll be looking at budgets again. So
Yes.
maybe we look at some of
Well,
that.
we proposed
budgeting and
very
things
small
that are-
village participation, which may have been part of the problem too. So
Right.
I have to admit that. Sometimes yes, sometimes not.
Right.
Okay.
No, and that could be some of the
Is there a
feedback we're
report
getting.
that they wrote to when they submitted it? Did we get a copy of that report when they submitted it?
Yeah, with
I got a copy of the grant that was submitted.
Could you give me a copy of it? Because there's some things that they missed. I mean,
It
How did
probably
we-
was done under the gun, so I think that.
What?
it was, there may very well have been because it was done under the gun.
There was a very short time frame of when it
Was it
had to be in and what had to be done and. was
Provided-
running into problems, so you have to do all these things online and like you're finding
Sound
out.
familiar.
No, I mean, you find it and then it's all these pages of stuff that things are buried in different pages.
provided
that
ice,
you talked about.
provided ice. I hope they had that in there.
Well. Well,
Did you have anything else that you were gonna?
no, that's not- unless you had something. We're good. Motion to adjourn because we have
So
another
moved.
meeting coming in here.
Okay, hi.
All in
All right.
favor?